Hi everyone, welcome to this week's lesson. This is lesson number 13. And this week in lesson number 13, we're going to cover, what are we going to cover, buddy?
Forms.
Forms. We're going to cover forms. We're going to go over field sets. We're going to go over input text fields. We're going to go over field labels and just how to put all that together. How to create a form so a user can give input to your web page. So that's what we're doing this week. What do you think about that? Sounds good?
Good.
All right, you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, let's get started. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Coding Zoo. This is Shane, and I have my son Nicholas with me.
Hello.
And I also have my daughter Jai with me.
Hi.
So let's go ahead and get started, guys. We're going to work on forms today. You ready to get started?
Yes.
Ready to go, Jai?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's go to our desktop. And let's go to the Coding Zoo folder. Go inside of it. Go ahead and right-click on tasklist.html. And let's go back to our desktop. Go back into the Coding Zoo folder again. And let's go into the CSS folder. Okay, right click on styles.css, choose edit with Notepad++. So now we have both the task list and the styles.css open up. Let's go ahead and go into tasklist.html. So we basically got this page called tasklist.html. Let's go ahead and open it with a browser. So go back to your desktop again. Go to the Coding Zoo folder. Right click on tasklist.html. Choose open with browser or Google Chrome. All right, so here's our blank tasklist.html page that we created in lesson number 12. We are basically going to add a form to this page, guys. Do you know what a form is? Nicholas? You know what a form is?
I do not know.
You don't know? Okay. How about when you're in school and you have to fill out information? You have to like give your name and address and all that kind of stuff. What is that called? That's called a form. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So if you do anything on the web where you give information, you're basically filling out a form. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to create our first form, and this form is going to be used to add tasks to a task list. So let's say you had a daily task list or a weekly task list. So you wanted to remember what things you had to get done for school or for work or for fun time even. So let's go ahead and create a form. So let's go ahead and go back to tasklist.html and we'll add that form. So I'm in Notepad++. Okay, I'm going to go down to my main element. Put my cursor after the element main. I'm going to press enter to create a new line. So I'm going to type in the form element. So less than sign, F-O-R-M. So I have less than sign, F-O-R-M, space. And I'm going to type in the attribute action, A-C-T-I-O-N, action, A-C-T-I-O-N, equals, double quote, end double quote. So the form's attribute action is used to tell the browser where you'd like to submit this information. We probably won't use it in this exercise, but I just wanted you to be aware that it's there. So the action specifies a URL, specifies where you want to send this information to on the internet. It's how you actually talk to a backend server. You guys understand?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to leave it blank for now. All right, so press space and type in method, M-E-T-H-O-D, equals, double quote, P-O-S-T, and then end double quote. The method is used to say how you want to send that information to the server. So you've got a form and you want to save some information, right? In order to save it, you need to send it across the internet to a server to save it. So the action tells what server to send it to, what URL to send it to. The method tells how you want to send it. And there's two widely used ways of sending it. One is called post and one is called get. And we won't get into that right now. We're not going to actually be sending data to a server. I just wanted you guys to be aware of these two attributes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and actually blank out the post. Get rid of the word post. Just have two double quotes. Okay, and then put your cursor after that last double quote. And let's go ahead and close our form tag. Press enter twice and then add our closing form tag to close this element. So /, so less than / FORM and then greater than sign. And I'm not sure if people on the internet can hear it, but boy, I hear a storm going on outside. So if you hear a big boom and a bunch of silence, then we've headed to the closet because there's a lot of thunderstorms going on right now. All right, you guys ready to get back?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next, so we basically have created a form block. Let's go ahead and add form elements to this form. Okay, so put your cursor after the first form element. Press enter, tab out, and we're going to add an element called field set. So a form is made up of fields, and you can put those different types of fields into different categories, different sets. So we're going to create a field set. A field set is optional. You don't have to use it, but we're going to use it to show you how it works. So type in the element field set. Less than FIELDSET. So less than FIELDSET, greater than sign. Press enter. Closing tag. Less than / FIELDSET, greater than sign. I'm going to put a line in the middle of that element, and in the middle of that element, I'm going to put my first form field. Before I do that, I'm going to name this field set. So I'm going to name this field set using an element called legend. So less than LEGEND, greater than. And I'm going to call this field set task description. So TASK space DESCRIPTION. So task description. Then I'm going to close my legend tag. So less than sign /. That's the slash leaning to the right. LEGEND, and then greater than sign. So now I have a field set and it's named task description. The legend defines the name of the field set. And now I'm going to add my first field. So I'm going to press enter and go to the next line. And I'm going to type in less than sign. And I'm going to create an input text box. So I'm going to type in INPUT space type, the attribute type, TYPE equals double quote, and we're going to create the type of text, the text input box. So TEXT in the double quote, and space, let's type in the attribute name. So I want to name this input field. So NAME equals double quote, and I want to name it task title. So TASK dash TITLE in double quote, space. So I've added a name attribute. It's just naming my field. And I'm also going to create an ID attribute, which is very similar to name. So ID equals double quote, and I'm going to call it title, T-I-T-L-E, in double quote. Press space, and I'm going to put a default value. So I'm going to put the attribute value. So type in VALUE equals double quote, and then I'm going to put the words task title here, TASK space title, TITLE space here, HERE, and in double quote. And I'm going to go ahead and close this input tag. So there are most HTML tags, or rather elements, most HTML elements, guys, are made up of two tags: a beginning tag and an end tag, an open tag and a closed tag. You guys learned that in the earlier lessons, right?
Yes.
So there are some elements, though, that are kind of don't follow that pattern. You can have just one tag, the beginning tag. So for example here, I could go to this input tag, and at the very end, next to task title here, I could put a // so it's kind of closing itself. I also could go over here and type in a closing tag for input. So like less than, equal, INPUT, and greater than sign. But that's not needed. It's actually just extra work. You don't have to do that with the input tag. All right, so I'm going to erase this input tag. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to save. I'm going to save it. Are you guys caught up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and press save. Click the multi-disk icon and go to your browser. And let's click refresh. And now we should see our page. Now, I don't know if it did this on your page or not, guys, but if I reload my page here, if you look at my page, it's all white. My background is no longer the same color it used to be. And if I click on the form element, it turns to the color it should be. Check this out. Do you see it? So I'm gonna refresh it here, and it's white. And then I click on this form element, and then it changes to the color that I originally set it to. Can you guys see that? Oh, here comes the rain. All right, so we found our first bug. Or actually, this is probably our second bug. So there's actually a bug in our CSS here. So let's go fix that real quick. And I'm going to move fast, guys, so feel free to pause the video and catch up when you need to. You ready, guys?
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and go back to our Notepad++. Let's go to the styles.css. And if you look at the very top, we have an HTML and body section. It says hide 100%. If you scroll down and look at the very bottom, you'll see we have a body section there also. So I'm going to take this body section. I'm going to take the contents of this. I'm going to take the contents of this element selector for the body, and I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to right-click, choose Cut, and then I'm going to erase this body tag by highlighting it and press backspace. And I'm going to move those properties that I just cut up to the top here and put them inside of this HTML body selector at the top. So I'm going to create a new line after the line height. I'm going to press Ctrl V or right click and choose paste. And now I have these new properties. I'm going to make sure they're spaced correctly. So now the properties are moved up here. So I'm going to click save. I'm going to go back to my browser. I'm going to reload it. And if you look there, it no longer turns white anymore. It stays the same color as, it stays the same. And if I refresh, we'll notice now it doesn't turn white anymore. It stays the original color I set it to. So we got rid of that little bug there. We got rid of the bug. Let's go ahead and finish adding more form elements to our first field set, and then we'll stop for the day at that point. All right, so go back to our task list.html. So let's go back to our field set. And we're going to add another text box. So let's copy that text box line. Let's save some time. Let's left click, highlight that line, and you can right click and choose copy, or you can press Control C. So I'm going to press Control C. I'm going to create a new line underneath that line and press Control V. And I just copied that line, that input box, to the next line. So now I have two input boxes that are text type. Now I'm going to change the name. So I'm going to change the name to, instead of task title, I'm going to call it short, SHORT dash description, DESCRIPTION, short description. Let's go over to the ID, and I'm going to also change that to short description, SHORT dash DESCRIPTION. And I'm going to change the value. And in the value attribute, I am going to type in put description here. So PUT space DESCRIPTION here, HERE. And I'm going to press save. Go to my browser, click refresh, and now I have two blanks here. One says task title here, and one says put description here. Okay, so we have the two blanks. They kind of look lonely by themselves. So let's go ahead and label those blanks. Let's actually put a name next to those blanks. So go back to tasklist.html. Go to the legend tag at the very end of that line, press enter. Okay, so now I have a line underneath legend, and I'm going to add the label for the input text box. So labels are used to define the label, the name that's displayed for a given input box. I'm going to type in the element label. So less than, LABEL, space, the word for, FOR, equals, and then double quote. So I'm creating this label for what text box? So Jai, what's the name of that first text box? What's the ID of that title? Okay, TITLE in the double quote. And then I'm going to put a greater than sign to close off that opening label element tag. And now for the display, I'm going to put the word title, TITLE, colon, and now I'm going to close that label element by putting the closing tag. So less than / LABEL, and then greater than sign to close it. So I have a label for equals title, and I put title in the middle of those two tags. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to copy it. Right click, choose copy. I'm going to go to the end of that first input box. I'm going to go to the end of the line of that first input box, press enter, create a new line above the second input box, and I'm going to Control V or right click and choose paste to paste that label. That way you don't have to type it again. I'm going to change the for. This label is not for that title input box. It's for the second box, which is called, it has an ID equal to what, Wei Shun? The second input box has an ID on it. What is that ID? ID equals
Title.
the second input box.
Short description.
Short description. So I'm going to change this for to equal short description. SHORT dash DESCRIPTION. And I'm going to go to the middle and change the title colon to short description colon. So SHORT space DESCRIPTION colon. So now I have two labels for my two input text boxes. I'm going to press save. Go back to the browser and choose refresh. So there we go. So we have a task description field set. I have the word title and its input box. And go ahead and put your cursor in that input box, guys. And you can actually type stuff. Right? You can actually fill in information there. So those are input text boxes. So if you notice, guys, when you typed in those text boxes, it already had the text that we put as a default value, right? You saw that, right?
Yes.
And when you clicked on that text didn't go away. So you kind of had to erase it, right? If you didn't want the default value, you had to erase it, right? Did you notice that? Okay. So let's go ahead and change that some. Let's go ahead and go back to the task list.html. This will be the final change. And let's go to the first input box. You see where it says value equals? Well, in HTML5, there's a new attribute called placeholder. Let's go ahead and change that word value to the word placeholder. So I'm going to delete the word value and I'm going to type in the word placeholder. Placeholder. So I have placeholder equals task title here. I'm going to go down to my second input box. I'm going to delete that word value. And I'm going to type in placeholder. Placeholder. So this is an HTML5 attribute. So it would only work with certain browsers. Click the save icon. Go back to my browser. Click refresh. And now you'll notice that those values are still there, but they're kind of a gray color. They're no longer black. And if you click on the blank and type something, those values disappear. So you no longer have to delete them manually. Pretty neat, huh? Pretty cool?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So that's it for our lesson today. We learned how to create a form element, right? We learned that forms have fields inside of them, and those fields can be grouped in what's called a field set. And the field set has a legend, which is a name. And we also learned that there's an input tag that has a type of text. Now there's many different types of input tags. There's text, there's date, there's password, there's radio buttons, there's check boxes, there's select boxes, there's all kinds of different input fields. So in our next lesson, we're going to create a couple of more field sets here, and we're going to learn a few more of those field types. Does that make sense? And that'll finish off our form. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's our lesson for today. We hope you enjoy the lesson. If you have any questions, definitely send us a message below. We will respond. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions on anything in the lesson or any questions in general, just go ahead and leave us a message. Before you go, if you're new to us and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you like the videos, click like. If you want to be alerted about new videos, be sure to click that bell icon. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.